Our first speaker is Secretary of the Department of Children and Families, Secretary Phyllis Gilmore, and I'd ask that you keep all questions until all the speakers have made their comments. Secretary Phyllis Gilmore.
Thank you, Representative. It's good to be in Wichita. I am Phyllis Gilmore, the Secretary of the Kansas Department for Children and Families, and I am also a licensed clinical social worker. So I speak at this in a couple of different roles, this entire situation. I have seen firsthand the impact that marijuana use has on adults and their ability to be productive and self-sufficient. I've counseled many folks in that arena. More importantly, though, I've seen the devastating impact parental drug use can have on children in their own home. Wichita is all too familiar with perhaps the worst case that demonstrates that last point. Last summer, in the very hottest part of the summer, a 10-month-old baby girl was left strapped in a car seat as she suffered an unthinkable death, and I mean unthinkable, that you would not want me to describe it to you. It is that horrendous. And she was unable to escape the heat or her car seat, while her foster parents were inside the home getting high on marijuana. Their lack of good judgment and thoughtlessness, made worse by drug use, are the reason for that little girl's death. She had no second chance, as proponents of this bill are wanting. She had no other chances at life. The ballot question before Wichita voters is one step closer to decriminalizing marijuana, making it that much easier for these sorts of tragedies to happen. As the state's child welfare agency, it is our job, in fact our obligation, to protect innocent children who can't protect themselves. That is the protection, and every child earns the right to be protected by all of the voters. We put them at greater risk of harm when we tell the parents a double message: it is okay to get high, or lessen the penalty for possession offenses. In this fiscal year alone, we've already seen 412 children in Kansas removed from their home. That's 412 since the 1st of July, for the primary purpose of parents' substance abuse. And that number doesn't include meth use. 19% of all removals last fiscal year were primarily due to parents using drugs. You can see why that is such a serious concern to the Department for Children and Families, when that is the 19% of children removed. The impact that our social workers see when they go out, they see parents who use drugs typically have impaired judgment, neglectful behaviors, and an inability to cope, making it very difficult to parent safely. And they readily admit that after they've received treatment and rehabilitation. The nature of addiction itself causes the addict to put the need for that substance as a priority over everyone and everything, and that includes a parent for their child. That substance is important, and marijuana is a gateway drug that leads to abuse. Children are at risk for coming into contact with the substances through inhalation, through breastfeeding, picking it up in the home and ingesting it. It creates an unsafe environment. There is an association additionally between drug abuse and violence. Mothers who use drugs may prostitute themselves in order to obtain their drugs. Children are often witnesses to these activities and sometimes even victimized. It is always our goal at DCF to keep children in their home with the parents when that is a safe option. Far too often, children are removed because parents put their addiction to drugs before children, And when you stop and think about, we talk about removing children as if we're talking about eating an ice cream cone because it's so common. But that is one of the most intrusive things government does to families, is remove a child. It is one of the most traumatic things, perhaps the most, that can happen to a child, to be taken, maybe being awakened from their afternoon nap and just taken from the home. A child who has no understanding of why or where they're going. Or maybe a child that's a kindergartner, is at school, and they don't get to return home, and they're taken away. That is a horrible thing to do to a child, and one that we at the Department for Children and Families do not take lightly. But when it is weighed against a child death as happened here in Wichita, obviously we have to go with the safe option, no matter how traumatic that option is. Reducing the penalty for marijuana possession makes it much easier for parents to go home after an arrest and continue to use drugs, making it that much harder for our agency to protect the children in their care. Thank you.